You remember that nerdy kid, the one in middle school who spent a lot of time on the internet and dressed up in weird costumes? And sure, all that time on the internet and computers netted me a good job, but it wasn't my passion. That passion? Photography. And it turns out that photography was something that was already in my blood. So if you like cameras, film, chemistry, history, adventure, and a little bit of exploration, then I think we're going to get along just fine.
Hey there friends, welcome back to the channel. My name's Alex Laux and today I'm excited to bring you on a wonderful trip into the city of Toronto. Today I am taking the train in from my hometown of Milton, Ontario and going into the city. This is something I don't get to do solo that often because, well, that's what you get when you have a family. But I'm really excited to have this time off. So today I'm packing along with me my Nikon F5 with the 14 to 24 millimeter f2.8G lens and a few rolls of Kodak Tri-X 400, which I'm going to be rating at ASA 320 and developing in Zone Imaging's 510 Pyro. So let's just enjoy this final stretch of the journey before we get into the station. Union Station is an absolute architectural gem. This 1920s Beaux Art styled station has been beautifully restored recently. We're here in just one of the side waiting rooms and you know what? It's pretty cool on its own, but just wait, the Grand Hall is even better. One thing I did note is that despite being a Monday close to Christmas, it was still fairly busy for what it was, with a lot of people coming and going like any major rail hub in Canada. Now here we're getting to one of my favorite stretches along Front Street. This is a beautiful spot to get architectural photos, especially if you like that sort of Second Empire with the mansard roofs. You have things like the Beardmore building and the rest of the commercial block. Fabulous examples of commercial architecture here in Toronto. But probably the highlight from the area is the Gooderham building. This is a brownstone Richardson Romanesque style flatiron building that predates the iconic New York flatiron, and it was originally built as the headquarters for the Gooderham and Worts distillery, which we'll be heading to next. Now, if you are walking toward the Distillery District, I highly recommend going a bit north from King Street to Adalede, because if you love architecture, then this block of buildings is absolutely spectacular. You have the Upper Canada Bank building, the Listell Institute, and Toronto's first post office. But what makes these buildings unique is that all of them predate the formation of Toronto as a city in 1834. In fact, the first Toronto post office was the fourth post office for the town of York, which is what Toronto was before it was incorporated as the city of Toronto. And here we are at the Distillery District. This is the fantastic preserved example of Victorian industry. Gooderham and Worts was at one time the largest distillery in Canada, producing a variety of brown liquors as well as industrial alcohol and antifreeze. It has since been restored as sort of an arts district. Right now they're running their Christmas winter market, and I really didn't like it when it's set up like this. It feels a lot more contained, and even though it was pretty quiet, I only shot a few frames here before heading back north. Here we're coming back up towards King Street, and the first stop here is the Enoch Turner Schoolhouse. This is another one of those hidden gems. It's one of the oldest schoolhouses in Toronto, but what it's used for now is an event venue, but it has been preserved and it's operated by the Ontario Heritage Trust. And then just around the corner is Little Trinity Church, or Trinity East. This is an 1844 Anglican parish, and it is one of the oldest churches buildings in Toronto. Not the oldest congregation, but the oldest building. And then here I've walked all the way up to Queen Street, and I'm now walking through what's known as Moss Park. This is an area that is a bit in urban decay. So there's a lot of empty storefronts, a lot of buildings that are a little bit run down, but it certainly makes for some interesting architectural photographs, especially with that wide angle lens. You do have to, however, watch out for the people who call this place home. Some of them do have both financial and mental health struggles, so simply watch yourself and be respectful to those who call this home. And here we're coming up to the end of that first roll and my first stop. Downtown camera, I need to pick up a few rolls of film. So I will see you on the other side of that. So from downtown camera, I'm heading north along Bond Street, and the first stop here is St. Michael's Cathedral Basilica. This is a minor basilica within the Roman Catholic Church, and it's one that I've always wanted to check out the interior of, especially the sanctuary, and thankfully it was open. They were doing a bit of a photo shoot. I think there was like a new bishop or something. I'm not entirely sure, but they didn't really pay attention to me. And you know what? I'm glad of that, because going inside was totally worth it. And then continuing north along Bond Street, we're going to hit up the Mackenzie House. This was the final home of William Lyon Mackenzie, Toronto's first mayor, along with the leader of the Upper Canada Rebellion. And now I'm going to continue my journey north by taking the subway from Dundas Station up to Yonge-Bloor. So I'll see you when I get back above ground. And here we are at Yonge-Bloor. And another spot that I've always wanted to check out the interior of is the Toronto Reference Library. This is an absolutely gorgeous piece of architecture and a real gem. And from the outside, you don't really expect what you're going to see on the interior. One word of warning, however, is that if you do want to film or photograph inside, you do need to fill out a photo permission form. Thankfully, they make it super easy. They're just right there at the front desk. Fill it out with your name, your date, and what you're doing, and they'll issue you a pass. So, having done the paperwork, I wanted to take full advantage of it and shot a few more frames. and here we are strolling through the Yorkville neighborhood. Now, this was once an independent village from the city of Toronto until it was annexed. So we have here the Yorkville branch of the Toronto Public Library. It's also one of the oldest branches in the Toronto Public Library. And next to it is Fire Hall 312, which is the oldest operating fire hall in the Toronto Fire Services. And we're back out here on Yonge Street with the Masonic Temple building, another Toronto icon, and makes for fabulous architectural images, and it's been saved twice now from demolition. And here's another interesting spot. This is the former North Toronto CPR station. And what makes this really interesting is that it was a train station for less time than it was a liquor store. Plus, I managed to get inside to capture the old main waiting room. And it was totally worth it to just see this architectural detail preserved. And the entire liquor store really has a railway theme going to it. So if you're in the area, it's well worth the trip, and maybe pick up a little something for when you get home. Of course, I had to get a photo here. This is former Postal Station K, which is unique in two ways. First, it's one of the few buildings in Canada that has King Edward VIII's cipher on it, but it's also the site of the Battle of Montgomery's Tavern, which was the opening battle of the Upper Canada Rebellion. Well, friends, that about covers it. I shot 2 whole rolls of 36 exposure Kodak Tri-X 400, and I've just shared with you 50 frames, taking you all the way from Old Town Toronto up into the Midtown. a distance of about 12 kilometers. If you have any questions you'd like to ask me for me to answer this year, 2025, please leave it in the comments with the hashtag AskALP. And until next time, my friends, shoot what you love, with what you love, on what you love. Don't give in to the hype.